Hey, folks, it's time for the quote of the day. And listen, 2 days ago, it was Isaac Asimov's birthday. And so we quoted Isaac Asimov, and he, a genius in his field. And then yesterday was J.R.R. Tolkien's birthday. So we quoted J.R.R. Tolkien, a genius in a field, in his field, and in what he did, and one of the greatest world builders of all time. Today, I hate to say it, but the but today's quote is by a man that overshadows both of them. It's not even close. It's not even close. Easily, and this is not even hyperbole of any sort. One of the most important men to have ever existed, ever in the history of our world, and one of the most important minds. There is nothing you do today, nothing, literally nothing you do today that doesn't have some sort of connection to him, significance from him, understanding through him. It's that fundamental. Today is it's I honestly I get a chill just saying it. Today is Sir Isaac Newton's birthday. One of the most important minds to have ever existed. I would argue possibly more important than Einstein. More like in terms of what he did, in terms of the things. And what's interesting is that if you read, you could go. I don't know. I haven't done this, but I imagine this is true. You you could probably go look at his Wikipedia entry, and you'll be like, probably reading it. And this is how it is when you read his books, like or read books about him, about people writing about him, is that as you read, they'll be like, oh, and he did this thing, and you'll be like, oh, you mean like he created the first fucking refracting telescope? Oh, that's pretty important, right? Like that seems like it's pretty, but it's just like a throwaway line because it was just he just did this shit. It was just he was he was a mind unlike any other. Now, what makes Isaac Newton who he was first of all, we've never seen a brain like his. We've never seen somebody with that ability. But he kind of go flies in the face of what today's culture believes to be the way. And what I mean by that is that as we've moved, and this is a relatively recent thing here, but as we've moved into a much more spiritual, kind of in touch world like that, we've moved a lot of the messaging has moved away from discipline. It's moved away from, kind of being regimented and things like that. Now people still say, you need to show up every day for yourself and all that stuff, and you need to, but there's been a really strong like societal push into what they call like soft achievement or soft this or soft that, where you're not trying to push yourself as much. And Einstein and Newton was like, nah, fuck that. Like he was extremely disciplined in everything he did. He was an immaculate note taker. He did everything like on schedule, hit the target. Was always like he actually what people don't recognize this a lot, especially like nutritionists and stuff like that won't recognize this, but he actually was like way ahead of the curve in terms of like intermittent fasting and things like that. He did that himself. He actually starved himself. Sometimes he would fast for 24 hours, things like that, just because he felt like if he didn't like the way it felt when he ate a lot of food. He didn't like the way that you get kind of like the itis, right? Like you get tired and sleepy, and he didn't like that feeling. So he would intentionally starve himself to the point where when he would eat, he could only eat, like his stomach would basically shrink up. He could only eat so much without getting nauseous. So he would eat the very bare minimum. Now think about that. Think about how intelligent he was. And this dude starved himself so that he could stay at like peak performance at all times. He understood like physical fitness. He understood all of these things that we like for we seemingly in the 400 years since he lived, it all fell out of favor. Nowadays we see it a little bit more, but a lot of this kind of stuff fell out of favor. This guy was ahead of his time by hundreds of years. And there's things that he put forward in terms of physics that people still don't understand. We're still trying to understand it. We still don't fully grasp how he knew what he knew, even though he was, like I said, an immaculate note taker and somebody who, made sure that he did this thing, he did this. The only reason that we understand how to experiment is Isaac Newton. He's the one that basically codified the scientific method. Like said, okay, well, you need to do this, you need to have this, you need to have this, you need to have this, you need a control, you need this, you need a variable, like he's the one that was like, we're going to put this scientific method, we're going to put it to test, we're going to actually make sure that it works. And he made little revisions, and the scientific method that we use today is the scientific method that Isaac Newton basically refined. I mean, people knew that this was how it was before, but he really did go in and, with a fine-tooth comb and really solidify it. Now, as far as his quotes go, it's interesting with him because, because he didn't say a lot necessarily. He wasn't like a, big speech guy or anything like that. And so a lot of what we know about his quotes were through his notes and things like that. And, obviously his writings. But he wasn't like poetic. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of straightforward in a lot of what he said. But what's interesting is that because of the time that he was writing, when you read it today, it sounds poetic. But for people that read it back then, it would have just sounded kind of, I don't know, not stupid, but it was basic. Like his way of writing, his way of communicating would have been considered very, very basic, very layman type. And that's one of the things I think that made him so special, is that he had these thoughts, these ideas, these things that were stretched to limits that nobody's ever seen before, and yet was able to communicate them in a way that it interested others, that it kept others engaged, and it built a fervor for understanding science, for understanding, how the thought process worked, how these things worked. He was a key piece to the scientific revolution. He was probably the key piece to it. And so I just, when I was looking for quotes, I was having a hard time because I was like, oh, well, this is like, everybody knows the shoulders of giants quote. Everybody knows, equal and opposite reaction quote. Like everybody knows these things. And so I was looking for something that maybe not as many people knew. And what I found were two quotes, and I'm going to give them both to you because I think they're both important. This is one that I love because it speaks about humility. Understanding this is important as a scientist, and I believe it's important as a person because you don't see it that much these days. Isaac Newton once wrote, "What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean." What we know is a drop, and what we don't know is an ocean. Think about that. Think about how many people you know right now in your life that come off as if they believe they know everything. Some people accuse me of that, but I'll be the first to tell you I'm a fucking idiot. I know nothing about this world. I know nothing about anything, really. I just have the ability to, from time to time, convey it in a way that's convincing. But I'm a blathering idiot. I know nothing. And for those that think that I am intelligent, that doesn't mean that you're an idiot. It just means that, maybe I just have the ability to be more eloquent than you do. That's all. I'm dumb as shit. And I have no problem saying that. That's not a shot in my ego, because the idea is, and I made this point recently, is that that's exciting. I want to not know because that means that I can learn. And that's the whole point. There's a whole ocean of things to learn out there. Isaac Newton recognized it, and it excited him. And I love that about him. Here's the quote that I really wanted to get to, and the reason why I couldn't pick between the two, you'll understand in today's world, considering what's happening in America politically, considering the way that a lot of people have latched on to, weird pseudo-spiritualism and mysticism and things like that. Isaac Newton once said, "I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people." That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about him. That's all you need to know about this world. Science can tell you everything you need to know about what's actually happening around you, and it's more than happy to say, I don't know about things that it doesn't know. But what it can't tell you is why people are the way they are. the madness of people will forever elude us. Happy birthday to Sir Isaac Newton, one of the most influential people of all time. And to the rest of you, take care of yourself, take care of others. I'll talk to you soon.